dismantle these connecting rods off the crankshaft. We will double check the clearance, and a lot of people have asked us how do you actually measure that clearance since the connecting rod is already assembled on the crankshaft. I will show you today how to use a plastic gauge. This is a plastic gauge. So, and as you can see, it looks like, yeah, it's actually a tool, and in the same time it is a consumable. As you can see, we have just a little piece of paper with a lot of little measurements here. Let me just open this up to show you how it looks inside. What we find inside a plastic gauge is, as it says already, a piece of plastic. It looks like a little hair. There you can see. That's how it looks like. And so this piece of little plastic string is going to be placed on the connecting rod pin. And as we tighten up the connecting rod, that little string would be squeezed. And according to the amount of how much it has been squeezed, see exactly what would be our clearance. Now, I suggest I start doing that. I'll take off all these connecting rods and you guys have a look how that works. So, here you can see the connecting rod, you can see the bearing, the new bearing that we are mounting into the connecting rod, and the clearance from that bearing to the pin. That is what is absolutely essential for the engine to be running reliably. So guys, as you can see, I have put a little bit of our plastic gauge, around about a centimeter, just to cover the surface of the connecting rod pin. As the connecting rod pin has been oiled very well, so the plastic gauge piece will just stick there in the oil. What we're going to do now, we are now going to mount our connecting rod. And here it is very important that when we mount that the bearing inside the connecting rod has been placed perfectly like this. And it is also very important that we mount the connecting rod the right way around. As you can see, you have a matching number right here. This would be the wrong way around. So basically now the matching numbers should align with each other. Now you can see this is the way how the connecting rod will be mounted on a pin. Now we are going this right away, and as we apply 20 Newton meter of torque, we will create pressure to our little plastic gauge that then will expand. So let's see how that works. So we're going to take a torque wrench. I have set it already to 20 Newton meters, and there we go. Number one and number two. Maybe hear the click. Okay. So now we can open it again. So I'll put our connecting rod aside together with the bearing, and as you can see, the little piece that we just mounted has now expanded. Now, in order for us to find out how much it has been squashed, we have to basically put the gauge on it and measure this. As you can see, the width is pretty much matching the table of 0.051 millimeter. That's pretty much a perfect fit. Next, I'm going to check the rest of these connecting rods, and then we have a look whether we have everywhere pretty much the same setup. Now, in our case, we are equipping this car with complete new connecting rods, simply because we had a problem with one connecting rod engine, because we couldn't get an individual connecting rod from the manufacturer anymore. This crankshaft is from 1982, and Porsche did not manufacture certain weight groups of these connecting rods anymore. So we have decided then, in that case, to replace all connecting rods, because it is very important to us that they all have the same weight. Now we are in a different weight group. In fact, we are slightly lighter than we were to be by around about 20 grams. But yeah, the connecting rods are now in between 639 grams to 641 grams. So this is a range that's absolutely perfect. That's basically what we do. Now, where exactly we place these connecting rods, on which pin, I like to have the connecting rod clearance to the pin pretty much everywhere the same. Now, although there is quite a little bit of a range of a tolerance, we like to keep them all in the same clearance. Now that's pretty much impossible to do, but what I personally like to do, I like to switch the connecting rods from one pin to another, because in my personal opinion, I believe connecting rods, no matter how precisely manufactured, are never exactly the same. So it could be that you may not, cylinder number 3 connecting rod may not meet your requirements in terms of clearance, and if you switch the connecting rod from cylinder number 4, suddenly you're getting there. So I'll try to do that and fit these connecting rods all onto the pins where I think it's right. Okay guys, we have assembled our crankshaft. We are now going to insert the crankshaft into our crank housing, into our to assemble then back the engine block. For that, earlier you saw how we have fixed up our connecting rod bearings. This time around we are going to, here we have a set of new journal bearings for the crankshaft, so we're going to mount this along with the oil pump of the car. Personally, I like to assemble the crank housing on the working bench, and once the crank housing is completed, we'll move it onto the engine stand, which then allows us to actually turn the engine around and work on the engine from all directions.
So we have started working on our cylinder heads for our 930 turbo engine assembly. When you look at the cylinder heads, you really want to take out the valves, and you want to have a very close look at those exhaust and intake valves. Now we found a couple of valves here that they don't meet our standards, and definitely they cannot be used for this engine anymore. The intake valves are in really good shape and we are able to reuse them back. The exhaust valves, however, are not. I'm trying to show you some damages on these valves. So one of these damages would be here in the metal itself. Yeah. So this particular valve, as you can see, has a very clear crack in 1 o'clock position. You can see it pretty much on both sides. There you go. So this valve is definitely broken and cannot be used back anymore. If this engine revs at 6000 RPM, an exhaust valve will be activated 50 times per second. So you want to make sure that these exhaust valves are in very good shape, straight, no cracks, no other damages along the shaft. What we're going to do, we are going to replace the valve guides. The valve guide on the cylinder head's exhaust side looks pretty mangled. So this one definitely will have to be replaced. So we will replace both of these valve guides on the intake as well as over here on the exhaust side. The valve guides are made out of brass. Now we don't have the facility to replace them right in here in our workshop. It takes some machineries. The cylinder head will have to go into an angle, and then the valve guides will have to be cord drilled until they get very thin so that they can be knocked out of the cylinder head.
guys, I just came back from the machine shop. I collected the cylinder heads. The old valve guides have been drilled out, so basically that works in a way where cylinder heads are fitted in a machine that holds them with 45 degrees. A drill goes through the old valve guide to leave a very thin layer that still is in contact with the aluminium, and then they are very easy to be knocked out because the tension of the valve guide itself is gone once it's core drilled. So the new valve guides usually they never fit 100%, so they will have to be schemed, and after scheming them they will be pressed in using a special tool and a 10-ton hydraulic press. Cylinder heads have been completed. The housing has been sandblasted. The valves have been installed. By now we cannot see the valve guides anymore. And now the springs are installed and new valve stem seals are installed. So they are ready for being installed now to the engine. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. The finished product is right in front of me, so the engine has been completely assembled back. So what we're gonna do, we are gonna end the video here. We will make a continuation of this engine running once everything is back in the car. Yeah. So if you have liked the video, press the link below, press the subscribe button, and I shall see you for the next video.